I love Marvel Rivals. You love Marvel Rivals. Everyone seemingly loves Marvel Rivals. But how did we get here? When the closed beta was launched in 2024, a lot of people, myself included, were very skeptical about it. Now, don't get me wrong, it looked good, and the concept of a hero shooter mixed with an IP like Marvel sounded like something that would be right up my alley. But I just couldn't open my heart up like that again. Not since the incident. Or rather, multiple incidents. On top of that, this was a period where superhero fatigue was prevalent, as Marvel wasn't really consistently putting out quality pieces of work. At least, not like they used to. If Rivals was revealed at the height of the MCU, I would have felt a lot differently about the beta. I would have bent over backwards to make sure I got access to it. But the playtest came and went, and I stopped seeing stuff about the game, and it sorta left my mind. When December came around, it was all I was seeing online, and I thought, what if? So, on a whim, not even a few hours after the game officially launched, I downloaded it. Not expecting much, I got on by myself, only planning on doing 1 or 2 matches. But when I started playing, it felt like victory. I was home again. Back in 2016, it was my senior year in high school. I got so into the Overwatch beta test that I kid you not, I would have withdrawals. I remember getting lost in thought during class because I was thinking about Overwatch. I was counting down the days until it officially launched. It's what kept me going. So May 24th comes around, I'm there and ready to play, and the servers are having issues for hours. But after that, I became inseparable from my computer. So much so that the day I graduated, after the ceremony was over and my family got their fill of photos, I just went home and played Overwatch. I did that for the entire summer. It was the only instance of no-lifing a game I ever experienced. Many days, I would wake up, get on right away, play until I was too tired, went to sleep, had Overwatch dreams, and started the cycle again. Looking back at it all, if I close my eyes, I can still sort of feel that summer breeze coming through the window while I was at my PC. But of course, that had to stop when school started again. I still played a lot over the next few years, but as more and more of my friends stopped, and the game kept making questionable changes after changes, it just started feeling like a chore. I was falling out of love with my favorite game, and I had to move on.
Does this mean Overwatch is back?
No.
There have been others I've latched onto ever since, but none of them were full-team hero shooters. Not until Rivals. And as if history was repeating itself, I got addicted. Always saying I'm just gonna play a match or two, and then bam, it's 3 a.m. I have lost significant amounts of productivity in my work because of Rivals, and I had to sometimes physically restrain myself from playing just to get some work done. So here we are, months after the release, and the game and my love for it are still going very strong. Yes, the numbers are not as high as its peak PC player count of over 640,000, but that's to be expected when a game blows up as much as it did. There is still a very big community. This fortunately was not just a game of the month type of game. By the way, if you're enjoying this, please do consider subscribing. It really does help out a lot. Thanks, I appreciate it. There are many reasons why it has been this successful, but I want to start off with the game design. Now, let's get something out of the way. Yes, Marvel Rivals was heavily inspired by Overwatch. The objectives are to capture a point or push a payload. Star-Lord's dual pistols and attack style, where he's weaving in and out of the enemy side, is a lot like Tracer. Scarlet Witch and Cloak's beam attacks are very similar to Moira's. A Station Punisher is Bastion. Black Widow and Widowmaker are snipers. This list goes on and on, so on the surface, it may seem like Rivals is just an Overwatch clone. Now, let's get something out of the way. Yes, Overwatch was heavily inspired by Team Fortress 2. The objectives are to capture a point or push a payload. Tracer's attack style, where she's weaving in and out of the enemy's side, is a lot like Scout's. Mei's ice attack and effects work very similar to Pyro's fire. Mercy's way of healing is just like Medic's. Torbjorn is the engineer. Widowmaker and Sniper are snipers. This list goes on and on, so on the surface, it may seem like Overwatch is just a Team Fortress 2 clone. Games are a form of art, and as all other art, it takes inspiration from others. That's just how it goes. And Rivals, in my opinion, has done so much to clear the clone allegations, despite what the former president of Blizzard, Mike Ibarra, might think. In this now deleted tweet, he compares Marvel Rivals to Overwatch by bringing up Light of Motoram, a Tencent game that looks a lot like Horizon Zero Dawn. But in his example, he points out the similarities even in the character name, Widowmaker in Overwatch versus Black Widow in Marvel Rivals. Lol. NetEase, Tencent, all the same. This statement caught a lot of flack due to the fact that Widowmaker from Overwatch debuted in 2016. Black Widow made her first appearance in 1964. But let's focus on the Marvel Rivals gameplay, which differs based on which character you pick. That goes beyond just the 3 separate classes, because in this game, who you play results in you sometimes playing a totally different game than everyone else. With Invisible Woman, as a strategist, you're mostly staying close to your team in the backline where you could best heal. If you're targeted, you could push them away and disappear. But if you're a rocket, your heals are less direct, so you have to think about how they'll bounce off of surfaces. And when you're under attack, you're very good at scattering and avoiding harm. Over on the Vanguard side, Groots have to keep in mind both how to defend their team with their walls, and also how to separate enemies. Penny players have to think ahead to set up good mine traps and safe nest positioning. And then there's the Duelist, which at the time of this video has the most number of characters at 20. Far surpassing both other classes. Here, you really have the most amount of options with how you want to play. A traditional shooter with Punisher, a sneaky hack and slash with Magic, and 4 aerial characters, each with their own different form of aerial combat. No matter who you play, your experience will be different. And on top of that, the developers have previously stated that they were going to add a new character every month and a half. They then push that back to a new character every month. I've seen some disbelief at this, but Marvel is an absolutely enormous franchise with decades of history. They can most certainly do this. And this has intensified what was already happening in the community: speculation. Back when Smash Ultimate was at its peak, that was my main streaming game. By the way, I'm live every Monday and Friday at 7 p.m. Central at twitch.tv/Lias. So stop on by if you ever want to hang out. I've been doing a lot more Rivals stuff over there and will soon also start reviewing matches for people to help them improve.
I will bring peace. 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 I will bring
Really hoping to see you over there. Anyway, one of the biggest aspects of being in the Smash community was the anticipation for new characters. Who should be added next? What would they look like? How would they fight? People would go the distance, bringing their ideas to life with renders, even making video showcases for the character they wanted. With Smash Ultimate opening the doors wider than they've ever been, as long as that character was from video games, they were fair game. That's how we got the likes of Joker from Persona, Banjo and Kazooie, Steve and Alex, Sephiroth, and finally, Sora himself. There are tons of videos of people reacting to new additions. This explosive release, seeing this, was partially because of all that time in between these reveals, where the community flourished and built up the idea of who was next. I'm seeing a lot of this right now with the Rivals community, and I really love that. It gets me excited seeing people's concept art for their favorite characters alongside theorizing what their abilities could be. Think, who's your number one? Who's at the top of your list? I would love to play as Daredevil, and it'd be interesting how they'd implement his blindness and enhance abilities. Imagine a support Nightcrawler that could teleport his allies out of danger. Or a Black Bolt where his ultimate is him whispering, "I'm sorry." This speculative hype is intensified because in this game, it really does feel like you've embodied a character when you play them. The developers are very particular about making sure fun is above all else. Balancing is secondary. It is fun to use the characters, especially ones that have abilities that allow you to be creative, such as Penny, Loki, and Doctor Strange, whose portal is an absolute marvel of technical engineering, even if it did sometimes cause people's PCs to almost explode. But let's think about that for a moment. This ability allows 2 different spots on a map to be connected for every single person in this online game. It's not like Portal, where at most it has to handle that type of information for just 2 people. No, it has to do this for 12. This generally both blows my mind and hurts my head if I think about it for too long. You can enter the portal from either side. If you jump or dash in, that movement is carried over, so of course abilities can also be started on one side and end on the other. Not to mention all the different ways these portals can be utilized. I still remember the moment when I first saw a Strange use a portal to get the enemy team to walk to their deaths. Something else I appreciate is how up close and personal you have to get, as certain characters don't have guns or projectiles. By design, these interactions are more physical and, dare I say, more intimate than similar games where you just shoot each other from yards away. The feeling I feel when I can jump into a group as Wolverine, constantly slashing and hacking and slashing, refusing to die, refusing to calm down. I can't think of another word but feral to describe that feeling. I also love that there are flying characters that stay in the air. They don't have cooldowns for that, and that makes sense. They can fly, not hover. And big shout out to the enemy teams that are incapable of looking up and just let me do whatever I want. Additionally, there are tons of different ways characters can combine their abilities. I already showed you a Scarlet Witch and Doctor Strange combo, but there's also the Invisible Woman strat where she pushes the enemy team into a portal. Groot's ultimate can pretty much be used alongside any attack ult. There's so much that can be done, and that will only increase with more additions. Then, there's the team-up mechanic that gives characters extra abilities. Adam allows Mantis and Star-Lord to revive themselves every so often. Venom lets Spider-Man and Penny use symbiote spikes to damage nearby enemies. Hulk and Thing can throw Wolverine like a ball. All of these add yet another layer to the gameplay and are an additional factor when deciding who to play. These are also dynamic, as they'll be changed every now and then to keep things fresh. I also really like these because before the MCU was a thing, it was so exciting as a kid seeing these characters work together and make appearances in each other's stories. That's what this mechanic is built off of. Another key aspect here is the maps themselves, specifically how breakable they are. Areas can be accessed easier, enemy cover can be destroyed, an entire section blocked off, and a good chunk of stuff is rebuilt to reset the playing field. There's also certain effects that happen if certain things are broken. All of this ensures that matches can have a flow to them. Something can always change. There can always be some action from any corner where both teams will have to adapt to win. Going back to what I said about balancing being secondary, this is why the developers have confirmed that role queue, a controversial element that was added into Overwatch to enforce a set number of classes, is not going to be added. This gives people the freedom to swap with each other or even just add another class. In this game, 2-2-2 isn't the only viable strat. 1 tank, 3 DPS, and 2 healers is doable. So is Gator. Go all tanks, 1 rocket. In this game, high kills and damage don't matter as much. If the right enemies are consistently taken out, if their team doesn't get a chance to gain some momentum, your side will gain a severe advantage. Likewise, a team that is aware of their surroundings can absolutely outperform a team that has some really good gamers. As great as individual players they may be, in this team-based game, it is very hard to win if you don't play as a team. if there's no cooperation, if there's toxicity poisoning the well. Trust me, I have lived this. Abraham Lincoln once said that a team divided amongst themselves cannot prosper. He said that about Overwatch, but it very much applies here. Now, toxicity in a multiplayer game is not a new concept, and it is definitely not uncharted territory for me to cover. But there is a very distinct type of toxicity in this game that, quite frankly, stems from a lack of accountability. It can't be my fault for why we're doing badly. No, it's someone else's. I didn't get enough heals in the enemy team's backline. My team wasn't with me whenever I would rush in by myself. There were no heals when our healers kept getting dived on and nobody turned around to help. Whatever the reason may be, there is very much an individualist type of mindset amongst a large portion of players, which is not ideal for a team-based game. Communication is important. If something's not working out, something has to be changed. But people seem to sometimes walk on eggshells trying to initiate that. Or they might not even say anything because they don't want to get yelled at or cursed at. This is why lots of people have voice chat off entirely. This type of destructive attitude is also why, at the time of this video, there is a support strike going on. Healers are burnt out and tired of being neglected and blamed. The phrase GG no heals is unfortunately a common one, often said by someone that doesn't realize their backline is being targeted. Or maybe they were actually getting healed the whole time and just didn't notice it. They may never have even touched the healer class, so they don't understand their cooldowns. They don't understand how they have to manage a whole team and that they can't out-heal immense amount of damage. As I mentioned earlier, there could be a lot of different team compositions, even one with absolutely no DPS. But you really can't have a successful team setup without at least one healer. And sometimes, it's just not any one person's fault either. We just have sucky matches, I get it, I really do. But refusing to take accountability, yelling at your team, does absolutely nothing to help you become a better player. No matter what, win or lose, every match is a lesson. I would even say every match is a conversation. That's how you win, by listening and responding, not just to your team, but to the game flow itself. Healers can't heal because they have to deal with divers? Help them out with a Namor or a Penny. They keep killing you when you go to their backline? Swap out a Spider-Man and enforce your front line. This game offers you so many opportunities to change it up if something isn't working. So take those chances. The more you understand what's not working and what is, the more you could boost your own value on the team and therefore help out others in a rising tide lifts all boats kind of way. And when stuff does go well, highlight that with positivity. Praise your team when they do something right, when they're performing well. I promise that brings up morale and helps combat any potential negativity later on. Something else that I like to do at the start of the game is ask what type of pizza people like. I do that as a sneaky way to let everyone see each other as real people playing the game, not just pixels on a screen. This has helped tremendously in 1. Setting us up as a team. If there's this one little thing we can bond over, that's an advantage that the other side doesn't have. And 2, it lessens the chance of people yelling at each other because now they know something about each other. They're more likely to not curse out the healer they have never interacted with before because now they'd be yelling at the mantis who loves margarita pizzas just like they do. That reminds them that there's a person on the other side of the screen. While we're talking about communication, I also want to give props to the development team for being open to what the community has to say and being quick about making any changes as a result. Let me tell you, coming from Dead by Daylight as my former stream game, this is a gigantic breath of fresh air. When they announced that there would be a mid-season rank reset, players made it clear how upsetting that idea was. People had jobs and responsibilities and lives outside of the game, and this reset would essentially be a punishment for them for not grinding enough. Devs heard this loud and clear and quickly retracted these plans. For the support strike, even though that wasn't directed at them, the developers still had an open ear for the community, as they would put out a statement recognizing these struggles. Alongside this was a promise to buff the damage output of healers and to nerf some divers such as Spider-Man, who is an absolute menace. He was my favorite all-time hero, but call me J. Jonah Jameson the way this game changed my view on him. Although, he does look sick as heck. So does everyone else, in fact. I am so glad that these comic characters actually look like comic characters. A lot of the previous modern superhero games have embraced realism. It works fine for certain games like the Spider-Man series, but not as much for something like the Avengers live service game. They don't look like superheroes, they look like cosplayers. People just wearing costumes. There's no aura here, and that's really highlighted when you have a side-by-side comparison of the same character in Rivals. They're buff and strong, their looks molded to their characters. They have a presence, and hovering over them pops them out, as if they were emerging from a page. There's a reason Rivals seemingly has gotten more people into reading the actual comic books than the MCU has. So many aspects here are based off of the fact that they're comic book characters and are unafraid to be comic book characters. Don't even get me started on the animation that plays when you go to a character's overview. This part of the menu could have easily just loaded in the character when you select them, but no, they went above and beyond with these animations that are only seen here. I mean, just look at those impact frames. Every visual aspect of the game is built off of what they call the dynamic comic style, which has taken inspiration from animation, film, and graphic design, and that really shows. They went through great trouble to really nail down this look. There is so much thought put into every possible visual aspect, and especially with how it relates to the story they're trying to tell. I highly recommend you check out the game's Art Vision video where they go much deeper into all of this. I really hope we eventually get something akin to those Overwatch cinematics. I live for these, and it's absolutely insane that we never got an animated series. These were so well done that, despite not playing the game in such a long time, they still make me feel so much. If we got something like this for Rivals, I think I would actually lose my mind. We've already been familiar with these characters long before the release of the game, but putting them in narrative-heavy shorts that are visually built off the dynamic comic style would really add another dimension to them. Imagine if, prior to Season 1, we had a narrative short that introduced the Fantastic Four and Dracula's invasion. That would have drawn up a lot more hype for the season, even more than what we got. Now, this game wouldn't have gotten nearly enough attention if it didn't have the Marvel brand attached to it. But at the same time, it would not have been able to be sustained on the name alone. That effort put in is felt every single time someone plays. We also see this in the cosmetics and the variety of costumes, MVP animations, and emotes available. They're derived from moments in the comics and even from the movies. The same goes for achievement names. The way that characters interact are based on their previously established relationships. There's a funny little gag that happens when two characters rush into each other. Just look at the motion smears coming off of Cap when he runs. The maps are also littered with Easter eggs that seasoned fans would be pleasantly surprised to find. It's also worth mentioning how the writers have fun with the lore, even officially incorporating a meme about Dracula owing Moon Knight money. But what I want to highlight here is how they explain heroes teaming up with villains and fighting other heroes. Every single map has a scenario where the two sides have different means to an end. For example, in the Empire of Eternal Night maps, one side's solution to the vampire invasion is to use the Darkhold to start the Montesi formula, which would destroy every single vampire, even the ones that were turned as a result of the invasion. The other side wants to collect and study the Darkhold's pages as an alternate method to defeat only Dracula and therefore save those who have turned. The end match animation reveals what happened based on who won and lost, with one being considered canon. I really do recommend reading up on the lore as it gives further insight for why you're playing in the first place, as opposed to getting a vehicle somewhere just to merely win. Another element worth discussing is the audio itself. From the fantastic score to the UI to the in-game sound effects that just feel right. Hearing headshots does wonders to my dopamine-deprived brain. Look at this clip. Now look at it without any sound effects.
That's what I needed.
That's 3!
I mentioned earlier going feral playing as Wolverine. Those scratching sounds are just perfect. The sound really is what ties everything together, what helps you feel like the character you play. I can't talk about the audio without bringing up the phenomenal voice acting that really comes through at the peak moments of a gameplay.
Supernova! Armed and dangerous again!
The Marvel Rivals cast are very experienced, and certain ones have actually played their character before, bringing another level of familiarity to them. Many of the voice actors are also really showing off their range here.
Yo, you need Haley? We're right here. Come to us. One wearer to another strange. You got some serious cloak game. Grubhub Perks give you deals on the food you love.
One of my favorite things to do is look at what a cast of voice actors have previously worked on, and I was flabbergasted at how familiar I already was with these voices, 2 of which were even on Johnny Test.
Imagine a voiceover that could actually turn a boring old day into an exciting movie!
Then before you know it, you'll be married and have 3 kids, and you'll be making the dinner while she's taking clients to ball games, and when was the last time she thanked me for my meatloaf?
The voice actors have a special place in their hearts for these characters.
Look at that shirt. That's an awesome shirt. Oh, yeah, man. Yeah, you know, me and Susan, you got to think. If you keep my wife's name out your fucking mouth. Fantastic! Richard!
Milana Weintraub, who has been voicing Squirrel Girl since 2018, has spoken very fondly of Doreen and what she means to her.
She's one step away from me. Kick butts and eat nuts. And I'm like, I'm there, you know? And then I was so happy to be called back to do the voice for Squirrel Girl and the podcast and the cartoon and the games because I love being Doreen Green. She's just like the most fun person to embody.
It's that type of love that makes the barrier of entry to the game extremely low. It appeals to all kinds of comic fans, from people who only follow the MCU to the most dedicated of readers. It has something that anyone can enjoy. What else gives it a boost in accessibility is that it's free to play. It costs you nothing but internet and storage to get into it. And even after that, every single character is available from the start, and so will every future character. There's no need to grind enough points to unlock a single one. They're all right there. All these different playstyles as soon as you log in. Compare that to not just Overwatch, but any other game that, after years of updates, has dozens and dozens of characters that have to be unlocked either by grinding or by opening up your wallet. After the closed beta, the vast majority of players that filled out a survey stated that they wanted all characters to be available from the start. The developers saw this and implemented it. This was a decision that helped boost this game tremendously. On the topic of monetization, for being a free game, Rivals actually handles this very well. There's no pay-to-win element. Anything that's purchased is purely cosmetic and for fun, and those are decently priced considering what you get. There's also occasional free skins that could be unlocked by doing event-specific challenges. As for the Battle Pass, I love that once you buy it, you have it forever. There's no need to grind if you have a few pages left and the season is about to end. You can access it at any time to complete it. I really wish other games had a similar system in place. I also want to mention this very interesting and surprising thing they did. The Hyper Orange Venom Pickup Bundle. For only $3, you get this skin, but also unlock daily objectives that can be completed for rewards, including a spray, nameplate, chrono tokens, and a costume coin that can be traded for any purple rarity skin from Season 0. That's right, any of these skins. All of this for only $3. That is insane. It's all of this stuff that has brought in so many people. I have specifically noticed an uptick in the types of gamers that have joined. Players who would previously only really play comfy games are now playing Rivals. I've seen it in my community, and I've seen others talk about how they never thought they would get this addicted to this type of game. It is very impressive to me that a team shooter can do that. In terms of the community, they're fed a lot by the game itself in the form of the match replay system. It provides players with tons of different options to revisit a match, and they can even share the ID for it as well. This system has let gamers easily make clips of their favorite moments, clips that are edited in a way to make a play as dramatic as it felt. The memes that have come out of this community are really something.
Why is above the law? Why does never pay for his crimes?
I myself have spent an exorbitant amount of time looking at TikToks under the Rivals category. One of my favorites was when Season 1 ended and people were looking back fondly on it right away, as if it's been forever. As funny as that was, it made me realize something. There will be a day where I feel like that, where I look back at what we have right now and miss all of this. Not just an earlier version of the game, but the game itself. Because there will be a day where, hopefully on better terms, I stop playing and move on to something else. The same way I did with Overwatch. The same way I did with Team Fortress 2. Marvel Rivals isn't perfect and still has its issues. I'm looking at you, matchmaking and ranking system, but I hope the developers continue to listen and keep the passion they have. This game, despite everything, despite what it's taken to get here, has brought me so much joy and happiness, and I'm sure it has for you too. So please, just take a moment next time you play to really take it in, recognize those feelings. What we have right now, because it won't always be there. Thanks for watching.